All right. Thank you, Creator. Thank you, my Creator, for this opportunity, my video that I like to try to do as often as I can, where I love to share the things from your newest revelation called the OAHSPE Practical Guidebook with my brethren who are like minded. Thank you, Creator, and my brethren. Welcome to my channel where I try to be a servant. I try to be a servant to my brethren who are like minded. I try to provide. I want my channel to be a place where we can come and talk to one another. We speak our own language. The Creator has given us an incredible gift with the OAHSPE Practical Guidebook. So I like to dedicate my channel to trying to share it with other brethren. The Creator has done an incredible thing in our day and age. uh, one of the things that I really dedicate my channel to is to be a warning, to warn brethren that the Creator in our day and age is sending out a command, actually, in a couple of things, but the biggest thing that I can see is that to come out of her, mentioned in Revelation chapter 18, her being the beast kingdom. In my best understanding, the beast kingdom, religion, Christianity, Mohammedanism, Hindu, Buddhism, to come out of her. I'm going to put that over there. So I love to dedicate. I have in my spirit, I believe, always asked the Creator to let my life not be in vain, to put it to good use, to put it to whatever the Creator sees fit spiritually to use me. And it's been a while. It's been very bittersweet, and it's been a winding road. And I perceive that it's the same way for most brethren who are same like-minded, such as myself. Um, hey, brother John, thank you. Thanks for joining me, brother. Good to see you. So my channel, I think that after all these years, the Creator has really helped me to go through the things that I had to go through in order to learn to be a lot of things. Be patient. Try to be patient. Try to be to humble yourself. To not try to seek after vainglory. I think that one of the things I've learned that I love to share is that the Creator, He seems to hear the desires of your heart. And I get a big kick out of getting that confirmation. And so it's only natural for a brother or sister in that situation to want to share the goodness of the Creator. I think we in a day and age right now where the most important thing is to be able to attain to the Creator's voice that is within you to help you from deception. And I think that we are in a time right now where the deception is incredible. And I think the bottom line of all of it, at the bottom, is to get you to be deceived, to get brothers and sisters to be deceived, and to end up eventually in deception in the spiritual when we are born into the spiritual. And it's something that we won't know the effect of until after we're born into our spirit. And I love what a brother shared with me today. He really shared some profound things with me today, where he talked about physically you didn't have a choice so far as being born, and when and where and how. And physically in the physical, in your physical body, and that's true. But spiritually, when we are born in the spirit, it's all because of the decisions that you make. It's all because of the decisions that you make. You have ultimate free will right now, in the sense that you will decide yourself. You, we, us, we will decide. And it's a really bittersweet thing because we live in a reality where it's mostly unbelief, mostly darkness, mostly spirits who do not know or maybe even hear the Creator's call to come to attain to his voice, but do not care, do not see any value in it, do not see any benefit, and so are unable to act on their spiritual self. We got a great imbalance in our reality. It's a great imbalance in the sense that you got the corporal and you got the physical, but most people gravitate to the corporal, the body, the senses, and there's a starvation of spiritual things, and we're called really to have a balance, to have balance in corporal knowledge, physical knowledge, and a balance in spiritual knowledge. And from my little corner of the earth, I like to try to look and learn. I feel like, if I'm gonna be here, if I'm gonna be in this reality, I want to learn. I want to learn. I don't want to waste no time, man. If I see that, you know, my spirit is telling me that this is not all there is, and there's that, everything is basically in the here and now is temporary, then I want to know how I can best set myself up. And the Creator, he knows that too. I think that we can all agree that you look at our reality and we live in a situation where people, they want the best for themselves. You can look at families, you look at children, you can easily see that parents try to do the best they can for their children, send them to the best schools, work for them, give them nice things and nice place to live, and constantly worried and vexed over choices that their children make and them growing older. And even when they're in adulthood, the parents still really, um, really, what's a good word for concerned about whatever goes on in their reality. Same way with the Creator. It's like he calls us children, says that we are a part of his body. So we read in the OAHSPE practical guidebook where the Creator we're really being raised through this word. Faithists, people who are faithists, that's what the OAHSPE practical guidebook calls believers. He calls us faithists, calls us brides and bridegrooms, and calls us children. And his plan is for you, brethren, to eventually become gods and goddesses of your own. And it seems when you read the OAHSPE that the Creator, he emphasizes you being able to attain to hear his voice, to learn to think for yourself, and to be wary to know what deception is. And that's a heavy thing, because even gods, I'm talking about gods that we read of in the Bible and in the OAHSPE, they fall prey to deception. Deception, man. There was something that I looked at today. I was looking at a video today, and it concerned the time that we live in. And it really hit me, man. Talking about the time that we're in right now, it seemed like the Creator, he drops little clues so that we can know what's a good word for seriousness, time that we live in. it's important because I believe that if we learn, like if you look at anything, when you see time running out, it causes people's activities to pick up concerning whatever the time is running out on. You see time running out and you might speed it up, whatever it is that, involves the timing in your life. And spiritually, same way. If we look around and we learning and we're observing and we realize spiritually that we're at a time to develop ourselves spiritually. That's what it's all about. Vetus, developing ourselves, really trying to develop ourselves, knowing that we're in the embryo of the earth, and meaning we're going to be born at some point, and we're going to be born of our choices. Our choices are going to equal our birth, the choices that we make. And it's like a lot of things, especially in the Western Hemisphere, it's like you reap the benefits now, but you'll think about it afterwards, so that you really can't make a good decision. It's really only a few in the world, I think, that the Creator, he gives you the ability to consider that, things that are far off, and that's hard for the world to do. I was listening to somebody today, and it was a video, and he brought up something that was pretty interesting, I thought. It was pretty interesting. And it had to do with the recent election. As you may know, my channel, I like to talk about geopolitical things. I like to look at what's going on so that I can bring it to you brethren's attention, so that I may be able to have something to submit for your consideration. And I'm always looking at things that will affect us, that will change us, big changes that will affect us as Vetus. Now, I've been talking a lot about Pluto going into Aquarius and how that's due to happen next Tuesday. We don't know exactly what it means. Historically, we've seen that it talks about revolution, uprisings amongst the people, big paradigm shift. We're also in the Cosmic era, a time where we go from the change in the way that man administers himself on the earth, in the sense that we're in a system right now where it's pretty much for the few. But the Cosmic era is like the opening up of things intellectually, you know, medicinally, medicine, and I would even say economically, a whole new world, the brotherhood of man, the power from the few given to the power of the many, a change in ownership of the souls and spirits of men, so to speak. We're in the Cosmic era now. We have events that are going on that signal we can learn the time, the brevity of time that we have to redeem it. That's the most important thing, to redeem the time we have to work on our mind, to change our spirit about things, to be more in line with what we read about what the Creator says. It's precious. And we are in a situation right now where there's no real concern about the things that the Creator is sharing with his children at this day and age. Now, I've said all that to say this. There's another equation that seems to pertain to the time that we're living in that I thought it was super interesting. Super interesting. So I want to share that with you right quick. Now, I think I put it in my room. I should have at least. Yeah, I did. Thanks. This right here. This right here. Look at this verse here. Now, you know we just had a recent election, right? President Donald Trump. And this is one of those occasions where using other sources like the Bible, the Creator is sending us a message. And it has to do with a change of our situation. It's got to. I'm sure a lot of faithists, we want to know, when will our situation change? When will we come into our kingdom? When will we be able to take advantage of the journey, the path that we have been on? When does that happen? Everyone wants to know. Well, we just had the recent election, Donald Trump. And then you look in the Bible, it talks about in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, where the trumpet shall sound. Now here, this is talking about, I'm sure you brethren know, talking about the rapture, so-called rapture. Now, when the faithist says it, it's talking about 2049. Our harvest is due to happen then. When Christians say it, they mean something that could happen at any moment, without warning, at any moment, involving a lot of people all over the world. Now, you ask a faithist what this may be talking about, and I think that they would say a change of situation, in the sense that, well, being in the cosmic era, it's a time of the advancement of the brotherhood of man as a whole. Pluto going into Aquarius, cosmic era, a increase in the corporeal knowledge and in the physical knowledge of man, Also a time of separation, from what I could see, as a brother was sharing with me, and I really appreciate him sharing what he shared with me about the light from the atmosphere as it presses down, as it comes to the earth, the light, it drives the darkness down to the earth. And so it explains why I hear people talk, and they talk OAHSPE Bible, and they don't even know it. I talk to, you hear people talk. They talk about the time that we're in, how they describe it as chaos, confusion, the events of the world. And they don't know that they're describing. It sounds like they're describing AGI, AJI. Period of time comes on the earth, represents mainly wars, AGI, density, darkness. And people don't even, they look at the confluence of events in the world, and really, it's not hard to conclude that when we're in a situation where there's division, there's chaos, confusion, that's AJI, AG. So, again, this verse right here in the Bible, do you think it's interesting that that the president's last name is Trump? And if you add his vice president's last name is Trumpence. And here the Bible talks about a last trump, but here it talks about a rapture. And I don't think there's a rapture. I know there's no rapture, but I think it's saying it could be speaking of the manifestation of the cosmic era in a way that we've never seen before. like what people would call miracles. Remember we read where I think it was in the book of Job's kingdom, how we were going to be able to make chairs, sing and dance, inanimate objects to give proof of the reality of the Creator. I think that when you read this verse here, that's what it's talking about. A change of our reality. Isn't it? And it says the last trump. Do you find that interesting? It mentions it 2 times here, number one. And the current President-elect Trump, he was president in 2019, or what was it, 2016, 15, or, that would be the first Trump. And then the second Trump would be now, the last Trump. Because after this, he can't run no more. And here, this verse, it equates it with a different time period coming on the earth. Now, I know the OAHSPE, it does warn against what we call coincidences. But I'm just submitting this for your consideration that there are some things that are pointing to something. And so I'm trying to just use this to point to. Now, I think as I am trying to observe what's going on in our country at this time, by looking at what this president is doing, he's surrounding himself with people who are most certainly going to take this nation to war. You can tell that because of their policies on their positions on certain policies of the United States. They are going to take this nation. This nation is going to go to war. And I'm still trying to learn what the Creator has to say about if that situation should come on the earth, what will become of the faithless? Or what should we do? And as of yet, I haven't really seen or read anything about what faithless in this present time period, where they should go, what they should do. I mean, it's commonly known to separate from the Uzians, the world's people, to separate, at least in our understanding of things, to separate. It seems the thing that it seems like a very great division is going to take place between faithists and Christians. I don't know. I could be wrong. I hope I am. But we look at the beast kingdom, and they're really the ones that are going to war with one another. And it's increasing. The threat is increasing. This Trump, this last president, is surrounding himself with people who they just crave conflict. They crave conquest. And we are likely to get caught up in the situation as we see it today. So, brethren, I just wanted to share that little bit. I thought it was interesting about this part, about the last Trump, man. What is the coincidence of that? The last Trump. We have a president, his last name. Sounds like there's a revelation in it. Bible calls him the last Trump. And that means that after that, there ain't no more. Whether that's exactly what it means or not, it remains to be seen. Okay, so anyway, here's my room on Facebook. Got a room on Facebook. my mom's food ministry, where we seek to minister to the disabled, orphans, and the elderly. And I'll say it again, man. If I ever find out that there's a brother or sister and they got something going, they got a ministry going like that, man, I'm in. I am in. If you get in touch with me, I'm in, brother. I think that's one hell of a way to learn to redeem the time. We are supposed to learn to live in communities. The difference between the creator's people and the world's people is that the creator is teaching us that you prosper by, there's a verse in the Bible where it says the kings of the earth, they prosper by keeping what they have taken. But the Ethereal kings of the creator, they prosper by giving away what they have. See, that's totally upside down what the world thinks. The world, get as much as you can, hold it, don't give it away. And the creator says in his kingdom, it's the opposite, that you acquire by giving away. I remember reading in the OAHSPE where the creator says that the more of your spirit you give away, the more of the comfort of the spirit you give away. Say you're gifted in academia, and the more that you give away, the more that you receive in return. It's like the kingdom, it is totally opposite. It is totally antithetical to the way that we have been brought up. It's totally antithetical to the way that we have been brought up. Again, the OAHSPE, it defines us as being in the womb of the earth. Our birth in the earth, it was against our will. Well, it wasn't our decision. We didn't have anything to do to it. I just thought that was interesting that brother told me that. And it's true. Our birth into the world was against our knowledge. We had nothing to do with it, and we're here. But our spiritual birth, it's got everything to do with you. It's got everything to do with the choices that you make. So here's my room again, where I like to, my brother, he's got a room, Brother Omian. Let me show you his room on Facebook. See, all over the place, man. The creator's doing this type of thing where he says that, and eventually he is going to, my internet connection. Let's make sure that this tells me that I lost it. Okay, I got it back. All right, so here's Brother Omian's room. It's one of the rooms that if you're just viewing this video and you come across my channel for the first time, here's a place where other faithless brethren gathering, just sharing the OAHSPE practical guidebook so that you can be edified and you can grow in your, I don't know. I was talking to a good brother today, man, and he really blew my mind on a lot of things he said. And while talking to him, it came to my mind how important knowledge is of why we are here, where we are going. While I was talking to the brother, it just kept on crossing my mind about we need knowledge. We need whatever the creator is teaching us to help us to attain to his voice within us, to elevate the creator within us. There are people in the world, I'm sure, but they have very little or no knowledge and don't care, who are faithists. And I seem to see where that is a mini tragedy. That is a mini tragedy, because I think we, for the most part, we say it's like, I think Christianity is rubbed off on the faithists. They really help to rub off on the faithists in the sense that they can affect them. Like, we look over at our Christian brethren and they basically just say with their mouth, and say they believe in your heart, repeat with your mouth, and then that's good enough. It's like it leaves a vibration on the believers that that's it. Everything is good. One time confession, don't have to worry about anything else. It ain't that way with the OAHSPE, with the Creator. He wants you to learn and grow. There's verses, and I might have posted them, and I'll show you where he says that growth, it coming by spirit growth, it comes by learning, by knowledge. The Creator, he gave us a template it's a template of striving and struggling and of elevating in our spirit so that we may be born again in our highest exaltation. Maybe, don't appeal to you, but we live in a situation where we have that opportunity right now at this very moment that, it's something that people want when it's too late. Here's my brother's room. For anybody looking at my video, you can just click on the link. I got my description area. Brother can bring you right into the room. You can join us. Here's another one of his rooms. Same thing. You can click on it, description area, paste it. Come join us and try to take advantage of the things that are being shared for your edification, that sort of thing. Matter of fact, here it is right here. Here's the verse I was talking about earlier. All mortals are in an embryonic state, preparing for birth, commonly called death. How do you like that? See, the operative word here is preparing. Brethren are preparing. See, you would say, the world would say, they would read this and say, hey, wait a minute, but I'm already born. How can I prepare for my birth if I'm already born? It's talking about your spiritual birth. We have a shell right now that's covering our spirit. That's our body. All mortals are in an embryonic state. I just think this is incredible truth, man. All mortals are in an embryonic state outside of our choosing, meaning. But we are preparing for birth. Now, how do you prepare? By the choices you make. By the choices you make. The choices you make in this reality, it makes an impression on your spirit. You carry it with you when you're born into the spirit. Now, think about it, Like you see these movies where these guys are going to rob a bank. They're going to rob a bank, right? And they get schematics, of the bank, how it was built, what type of materials were used to build it, where all the alarm systems are at, and how to disable them. They get all the building the building plans. Then they sit down and they study it and they dissect it. They hire experts. See? And then a year later, they implement their plan and they end up stealing billions, millions of dollars. Preparation. Now, if I say that, I had a funny talk with a brother today, and he said, hey man, look, he said, for what the Creator's got prepared for us, it requires a lot of responsibility, to be elevated, to be able to run one of his many worldly creations, one of his earths. There are countless numbers of worlds created and being created. And it's you, brethren, that's going to be picked to administer one or other of these worlds. The brother was telling me that Ethereum kings, they have control over like 3 Ethereum worlds, and they have responsibility for many other atmospherian worlds, Imagine that. Think of that, man. A whole world, you know? So I was thinking about that, and I'm a brother, man. I avoid labor, at least worldly labor. But the creator is saying that he is full of responsibility and labor for what he has for us. As you elevate and you are acquiring different abilities to you know, govern people and learning the gifts and that creator, he that Ethereum kings have, and to be able to listen to like a whole continent of people and understand what everybody is saying. And I mean, OAHSPE talks about the gifts that these different Ethereum kings have, and it just blow your mind, man. That was just one of the things that I learned. Who knows how many other gifts, how much power they also have, but a lot of responsibility, and you have to learn. We got to learn. We have to learn. You have to, I mean, OAHSPE, it talks about going to school after we're born in the spirit. You got to do that for so many thousands of years and have to learn different things, and, preparing for birth, man. In this reality, they do it for a short period of time, relatively speaking, to the spirit. And they reap a corrupt harvest, and that corrupt harvest could last them all the rest of their life. But they prepare for it. And it's a vulgar example, but it's the same way for us as faithists today. Really, I'm sure all of us would want our highest exaltation. Because the creator, he says that's what we are preparing for. We are prepared. Those of you, brethren, who do things like practice, like discern and judge your own self, you try to practice listening to the voice of the creator, reading, observing, because you know that a work is being done on you. There's some mothers I know that when they become pregnant, they set their child up for success, in the sense that they become pregnant, and then, like, say if they smoked, they stop smoking, for the sake of the child, their child who is in their womb. They do things. They stop what they call bad habits, They try to, govern, they may take up yoga and learn how to submit to peaceful, vibrations. They prepare for the birth of the child, man. Same way with the creator. That's the opportunity we got right now. That's why, when you look at me, you see a brother, and I'm sure it's probably true for other brethren too, We see where the creator, he says to set yourself up to be a servant, try to serve your brethren, take on that mindset. That's one of the things that he wills for your life. So I imagine other brethren, they picked up on that and they want to reach the highest exaltation they could possibly attain to. So they engage in that type of behavior. It's a beautiful thing. You have that opportunity. We have that opportunity. I love to talk about the examples of the people you see on TV that put in front of your face, and they're famous, you're not, but we don't see what they had to go through. Some things corrupt, some not corrupt. There are people in the world having a tremendous drive to achieve, and they achieve it. They prepare for birth, man. They prepare for it, and you got to appreciate them for that. Preparing for birth. That's us. Our whole life, man, is preparing for birth. Preparing for birth. Creator, he used a lot of things. He used people who were hard to deal with. He used situations. You know, he used trials. He used tribulations. And the brother or sister who picks up on that, they start preparing for birth. Preparing for birth in faith. They believe that they want to go into their spirit selves, you know, just like, what is that movie, Coming to America? You know, dude woke up, a big palace, he was a prince, everything at his feet. You know, not that that's the will of, you know, the creator. His will for faith is to exalt and raise sons and daughters who are minded to exalt and raise their brethren. So it's not like selfish where, you know, me. So enough of that, you know, my room here. I also like to share verses. Green tea. I like to share verses that I hope will bless somebody. Somebody will see something in it and it'll minister to them one way or another. So here's one right here. It says 2 kingdoms lying side by side. Now this is these are verses from the OAHSPE that I like to share, and I don't give the context of a lot of them. I try to get to the meat of it where you can read it and get something that you can be blessed by. So I don't give the context of all my verses, but I try to post something that you could read and get something out of it. Here it says 2 kingdoms lying side by side. In the one are great philosophers and colleges, but the multitude are in need. In the outer kingdom, there are no philosophers as such, nor colleges, but the multitude have plenty. The latter is a kingdom of greater learning than the former. For what does great learning consist of if not knowing how to live wisely? A few philosophers are not a nation to bestow such knowledge on the people as will entice and enable them to live wisely and be happy, to be good to a good old age. This is the labor of the best great government. So things aren't always as we think they are. You may see a nation, great philosophers, colleges, but the multitude are in need. It's like, to me, it reminds me of the Capricorn system that Pluto is getting ready to leave next Tuesday, if you ask me, because we live in a system where there's power to the few. Let's face it, not everybody is made equal. There are people who have different levels of comprehension. They go out in the world, take advantage of it, and they're able to live life different than other brethren who have to struggle, barely make it, live on crumbs, you know. It's an unequal, imbalanced system. And spiritually, the creator is concerned about the many, the majority, for their welfare, is what this is all saying, their children. We won't be able to live in the kingdom we desire until we learn that lesson. Another verse. It says, and it was indeed so, meaning something that I didn't post, but you'll get the point of it. It says, and it was indeed so. Instead of a preacher denouncing people for their sins, it was a place where people returned thanks and praises to Jehovah, with rejoicing in anthems and songs of praise, with pleadings in Jehovah's name for the Uzzians to learn the lessons of the news. So I picked this up from a account in the OAHSPE where it was talking about this is the way church used to be. People would come, they would be taught by a rabbi, and then they would confess their sins, and then, But this verse here is saying it's going to change, where instead of a preacher denouncing people, talking about worship was going to change. In the Cosman era, instead of a preacher denouncing people for their sins, it was a place where people returned thanks and praises to Jehovah, with rejoicing and anthems and songs of praise, with pleadings in Jehovah's name, for the Uzzians to learn the lessons of the new kingdom. The Jehovah's will for the kingdom of man, for everyone to learn the lessons of the new kingdom. See, whereas before it was all, you go to church and you get beat up on. And the Creator is saying that it's going to change, where instead of a preacher denouncing people for their sins, it was a place where people returned thanks and praises to Jehovah, with rejoicing and anthems and songs of praise, with pleadings in Jehovah's name. For the Uzzians, see, our focus is going to turn from being inward to outward. The faith is focused. Cosmic era, brotherhood of man, Pluto into Aquarius. Aquarius, water bearer for the world. Here we read, do not be put off by cunning of Satan's words in the mouths of priests or popes, but look matters in the face and be a God yourself in discerning things that ameliorate or make man's condition better. The condition of man, ameliorate. See, the Creator, personal responsibility for us, for faithists. Personal responsibility, man, but be a God yourself. Be a God yourself, man. Be a God yourself in discerning things that help alleviate the condition of man. Ameliorate the condition of man. Here's something else. It says, I demand of you that you have no favorite doctrine above your neighbor. So you can taste the flavor of this scripture. To esteem your brethren greater than yourself. This strange language in this reality. This super strange language in this reality. When you talk about the welfare of your brethren over those of your own needs, nevertheless, if you worship a God our Lord, then let such be a role model to you. Let such be a role model to you, to cast your eyes into your own soul, to purify yourself in the sight of the Creator, whom you cannot doubt. In that respect, it is no sin for you to worship any good idea, whom you shall emulate in your behavior. Oh, you could be a Christian, a Muslim, a Buddhist, a Hindu, if you are not praying to a deity or worshiping an idol. The Creator, he's basically saying, take the good precepts and principles of the things that you believe in, let that mold you, and it's okay with the Creator. He just wants the benefit to go to your community, your nation, those who are like-minded, those of you who live together. Peace, love, joy, harmony. Template, Creator. That's what he calls his children to do and be. Be of benefit to someone other than yourself. A verse I found in the Bible, I think it's harmonizing with the OAHSPE. If anyone thinks he's religious and does not bridle his tongue, He deceives his heart. This person's religion is worthless. Now, I don't know about that part, but I think that this is harmonious with the Creator. You're religious, but you do not bridle your tongue. You know, different than the Uzians. Aren't you? The Uzians, their speech, worldly, without discipline, without principles. And now, touching the law of resurrection, remember, this is the same in all the created worlds, which is, there it is, that the spirit of man, it grows by giving away the spirit has to give, what the spirit has to give, whatever the spirit has to give. See, and that's something. This is the upside down world. If you have great learning and you give of it, then more learning shall be added. More learning shall be added to you. If you have goodness of heart and gentle words, and by giving this away, more shall be added to you. If you have a craft and inventions or mechanics and you bestow these talents to others, then more will be added to you. As the corporal man accumulates corporal things by not giving them away, not so accumulates the spirit of any man. Now, I was talking about that earlier. That's the principle of the kingdom. It's totally antithetical to the world, man. It's totally antithetical to the world. Totally, it's the opposite of the world. It's a terrible thing how we live in a reality where people won't be able to move with the things that are coming on the earth. It appears to me that we are approaching whatever in the cosmic era where I think we're, as faithists, that will be challenged too to grow and to look at things differently than we always have been. I really do believe that, man. The greatest education is to learn to live in the best way so that we may be happy here and hereafter. There is no other learning as important as this. How do you like that? Greatest of all education is to learn how to live in the best way. See, there's the operative word. We got to learn how to do that. And I think that the world thinks they already know how to do that. You know, the golden rule, doing to others as others do unto you. When you read the Zarathustra, the divine laws, it's way more involved in that. It's more specific than that. Give you an example, man. The world, you ask them, what is charity? You say, indiscriminate giving. And you ask the Creator, and he says, charity is discriminate giving. See, you thought you knew, but you found out you didn't know. And then you read the Creator, he says that judgment is rendered against the rich man. It's rendered against him. He made all those soup kitchens. And the Creator said judgment was rendered against him. Why? Because he did not use discrimination in giving, and he made the problem worse so that he ran out of money, and he had created more dependent people on his charity than what he even started out with. See, We need education so we can know how to walk. The whole world will agree with the Christian indiscriminate giving as what is true giving. That ain't how the Creator see things. We got to learn, man. Now it's time for the reading of the word. The name of the video is Faith, Struggle, and Divine Presence. So it's time for the reading of the video. You can just, I can just scroll down, and so you could stop the video and read if you want to. So let me just do a couple more verses so I can get to the reading. All right, so I think that'll be good enough. Just stop the video. You may find something here. Okay, so how about that? Now, Book of OURANOTHEN, Book of OURANOTHEN, and the name of the video is called Faith, Struggle, and Divine Presence. Faith, Struggle, and Divine Presence. I'm going to be reading from this book right here. And may the Creator bless the reading of His Word. Book of OURANOTHEN, or Light from Heaven. Book of OURANOTHEN, or Light from Heaven. Now we got a footnote over here. The word OURANOTHEN, it means comprehensive light from the atmospheric heavens of the earth, or as we might say, from the throne of God, or spoken through God, or light from God, or light of heaven as spoken by God. Verse 1, it says, these are the words of OURANOTHEN. By your light and dominion, O Jehovah, peace and goodwill to all men with faith in you, and forbearance towards one another for your glory. Amen. I do not come to abridge liberty, but to give more of it to you with love and wisdom, so that the resurrection of men becomes established on earth as it is in heaven. He whom you worship under diverse names, placing him far away, I declare to you his actual presence. Jehovah. And I accord to you much praise and thanks if you worship in truth, fulfilling his commandments, acknowledging there is only one God, even Jehovah. Whether you say Brahma or Buddha, Buddha, or Christ, or Allah, doing so in reverence to the Almighty, our Creator, practicing good works with all your wisdom and strength, even so do I proclaim your good deeds in heaven. For all of these saviors, God's religions are the Father's buildings to bring his children into ultimate resurrection for joy and glory within his kingdoms. Therefore, I do not come to take from you any of your gods or saviors, nor to abridge your field or practicing righteousness, but rather to show you a greater glory in comprehending all of them in the plan of the Almighty, to reach the different peoples in all parts of the earth. Pleading with you to be charitable to one another and more comprehensive in your judgment. That's a key word right there, comprehensive in your judgment. See, we got to learn. So we can expand our understanding. That's what when he says comprehensive, meaning we expand our understanding of things when we are judging a matter, this thing or that thing, putting away egotism and professing among yourselves that such of you alone were the favor of the Jovi. And that's a strong influence. I think that it comes naturally to man, where he is attracted to making himself the only favored of Jehovah. I think that that's a very strong desire that people like to do. Vainglory. First, then, his living presence I declare to you, that he is now, always was, and ever shall be present in all places, world without end, doing by virtue of his presence, quickening into life and moving all things onward to a wise and definite purpose, whose presence is everywhere in balance, that all the living are his sons and daughters. All the living are his sons and daughters. That none are as orphans. That none are as orphans. But all have a father, part and parcel of your flesh and spirit is he, even the creator. Into whose harmony you are like keys to one instrument, with whom you can become as one, by practicing his commandments. And then we look over the footnote. It says, note that this means everyone, no matter how exalted or how alone or how unripe he or she may be, is still a child of Jehovah and cannot be severed from him, although such one may run away from him for a season. See? That's the way the Creator look at things. I think that's what's going to be a hard lesson, brother, for the world. That's going to be a hard one, man. That's going to be a hard lesson for the Hebrew Israelites. It's going to be a hard lesson for all you racists out there. And we living in a situation in the Western Hemisphere, especially in America, where it's a breeding ground for racists. I'm telling you, there is something that's in the air and it don't smell good for this country and its race relations. Because people are getting baited. There's a new administration. It's anti-immigrant. It's pro-white. It's pro-white supremacy. We're in the time of Cosmin. We're in the time of Pluto going into Aquarius, which when that happens, it always signals a revolution. And we do not remember the Creator. We don't remember him. All these things, the events to come on our reality, because we have not been able to learn the Creator. He said, into whose harmony you are like keys to one instrument, with whom you can become as one by practicing his commandments. That only in this way is there peace and happiness to any person on earth or angel in heaven. Second, this also I declare to you, that if you have put the Father far away, saying such was or such as, let me read it again. It says, second, this also I declare to you, that if you have put the Father far away, saying such as there is divine law or there is a natural law, this shows you do not comprehend the living presence of Jehovah, but profane him and his living works. You know, you see Christianity do that too. They substitute the Creator with Father, Son, Holy Ghost. They substitute. Now they think it's holy sounding, and of course they don't mean it, but they'll, even when you teach them, they'll do it anyway. Talk about the Holy Ghost, how it, the Spirit gave me this, told me to say this, meaning the Holy Spirit, giving glory to, you don't know you giving glory to the Holy Spirit. People don't know that, which was made up by Luamong, the false god. Anyway, that doctrine, Trinity, you profane the presence of Jehovah. For there is no divine law, nor is there natural law, but all good things are accomplished by the living presence of the Creator. Things commonly called evil being done by striving to go against them. Things commonly called evil being done by striving to go against them. Third, that Jehovah has not finished his creations and retired from his works. That where you have said he tired or he rested from his works, you have let yourselves fall through errors of language into profanation of the Almighty, for he is also master over all weariness, and is his own everlasting rest and unrest, beyond the comprehension of mortals and angels. And he is forever bringing together, creating, and forever dissolving and dissipating worlds without number, illimitable, in soul and spirit, forever quickening into life from his own parts without loss or waste or lack of space and without hindrance. Fourth, that Jehovah is the soul of all, and that you are like independent atoms of his person. Now, I have some footnotes here. I didn't read them. Let me, all right, well, let's see what, 1238, it says that, and he is forever bringing together, creating, and forever dissolving and dissipating worlds without number. Footnote, meaning being too many to count. Illimitable means limitless in measure. Infinite, uncircumscribable. Index, inexhaustible, illimitable. The Creator, in soul and spirit, forever quickening into life from his own parts without loss or waste, or lack of space, and without hindrance. Fourth, that Jehovah is the soul of all, and that you are like independent atoms of his person. How do you like that? How then can any man say, behold, my people are the chosen of the Almighty? He has singled out my people to go forth and redeem the world. I proclaim all people his people. And I say also, go forth and redeem the world, but not with words only, nor by the sword, enforcement, nor by armies of destroyers, but by peace and love, and providing remedies for the poor and afflicted, helpless, and distressed. Chapter 2. May the Creator bless the reading of his word. These are the words of OURANOTHEN. In the name of Jehovah, peace and love to the angels and mortals of earth. Because it has been demonstrated to you that the knowledge of man is only his own consciousness of the records that have been written on his body and spirit, let it be a testimony that the affairs of heaven and earth are registered everlastingly on the soul of man. Wow, think about that. The affairs of heaven and earth are registered everlastingly on the soul of man. How does that work? It must somehow help shape you. Verse 3, it says, whether written upon by his own behavior or indulgence, or by places of his resort. He is the book of his own dominion in the hands of Jehovah, or else against him. So our actions dictate our position relative to Jehovah, whether we are in his will or not. Whether shall, or which shall also be testimony that the eye of the Father is ever upon all men, both in this world and the next. For which reason no man shall say, God cut him off, meaning Jehovah's turned away from the evil man, which is profanation against the Father. For he does not turn away, nor does he cut off any man. Nevertheless, many cut themselves off from by denying him and not by obeying his commandments. And they bring darkness and misery upon themselves. And they cry out, where's the justice of God that he afflicts me? Or why does he not come to those who are in distress? And when they are in darkness, they marry and bring forth in darkness, and with predisposition to misery and death. Predisposition. People get married. They bring forth progeny with predisposition to misery and death. For which reason it was said of old that the sins of man are visited on the third and fourth generations and those who come after. And then the infidel cries out, behold, the misery of the creatures of God. But I say to you, all these things were revealed long before, and you are the testimonies of fruit of those who deny the wisdom and glory of Jehovah, your creator. Creator saying that the world today is a reflection of our ancestors' unbelief. What then is the register of the earth? Meaning, what is the tone, tenor, book, grade, or standing of the earth? Where shall the Father find an exemplary people? How can he do that? Where you love your neighbors as yourselves, practicing virtue and exaltation and righteousness above all else. Where do you love? Where you love your neighbors as yourselves, practicing virtue and exaltation and righteousness above all else? For I say to you, they have cunningly interpreted the revelations of heaven so as to open the doors to unrighteous teaching, by saying such and such things are done by divine law instead of being done by the actual presence of the Creator, persuading themselves that their God had gone away, leaving certain laws to carry on his works. And the ungodly interpreted them, saying that God had gone far away. He did not see the behavior of men, nor register their deeds, and truth is done in the body. For in this way they have been led to believe that sin and evil deeds are hidden away, that neither man, angels, nor God know they have been done. And they have grown up in disbelief, ignoring the person of the Almighty, even though the powers of life and death stand before them, being addicted to crimes and misdemeanors against one another in no fear of God, the Father, and only restrained by the laws and prisons of man. Wow, man. Faith to struggle in divine presence, man. Being addicted to crimes and misdemeanors against one another in no fear of God the Father, only restrained by laws and prisons of man. He whom you therefore ignorantly worship as being far away, I declare to you his actual presence, and that his eye is ever upon you. This is a statement that Paul made in the book of Galatians, I think. There's plagiarism in the Bible of the OAHSPE. Well, I mean, Paul, he actually said this before the OAHSPE came out, but he's got to be plagiarizing. I don't think he read the OAHSPE. And that his eye is ever upon you, and that you are a perpetual register of both the good and evil that you practice toward one another and the Father. The Akashic records. The foundation doctrine, Jehovah's actual presence is always here and now, and that his eye always sees you, no exceptions, and that your every act through word, emotion, and attitude is recorded, no exceptions. No exceptions ever, and that others can read the record. Wow. For those who have already done evil, all is not lost. However, for a preponderance of good act washes away the darkness of the soul, so that at length it will be the goodness in the soul that also shines forth in the records of the redeemed. Dark deeds of the past essentially become transparent. Everything is recorded. And for those who have already done evil, all is not lost. However, for a preponderance of good acts washes away the darkness in the soul. It goes along with the Bible verse, for charity covereth a multitude of sins. So that at length there will be goodness in the soul that shines forth and the records of the redeemed dark deeds of the past become essentially transparent, meaning you can't see them. You see right through them. They're invisible. By natural law is meant the so-called unalterable laws of nature or laws of physics. Their spiritual counterparts are thus called divine laws. It says, note that it is not here suggested that we disregard constancy or wisdom, but rather that the constancy and wisdom is because of Jehovah's actual presence, and not because of these constancies, so-called natural laws or divine laws, are somehow potent and inviolate in and of themselves. And while these are or may be part of the system and order of the universe, yet that system and order is held so by Jehovah, by his actual living presence. And so attributing things to the, the Holy Spirit, people equate that with the Creator. They substitute the Creator with man-made names and things, and men don't really think anything of it, but the Creator says he does. Because you don't know what you're doing. You're attributing his works to things that you have made up. He whom you ignorantly worship as being far away, I declare to you his actual presence, and that his eye is ever upon you, and that you are a perpetual register of both good and evil, and that you practice towards one another and in the Father. This is the foundation on which I proclaim Jehovah's kingdom on earth. Without this, there is no resurrection, either in this world or the next. And as much as you establish this doctrine of understanding of the young, so will you have laid the cornerstone for the edifice of Jehovah your Creator. To which end you shall put away all terms Put away all terms. So that's a lesson. Put away all terms of divine law and natural laws. Jehovah said, put them away, put them away, put them away, put them away. Always ascribe things to Jehovah, not divine law or natural law. Don't ascribe things to divine law or natural law. Don't ascribe things to divine law or natural law. Don't ascribe things to divine law or natural law. And from this time forward, teach them, the children of the living I am, the Jehovah, who is over all and within all his works, doing by virtue of his presence. Call him Lord or God as you may. Chapter 3. These are the words of OURANOTHEN. By power and wisdom of Jehovah in me, I salute you in peace, love, and reconciliation with the Father, to make you magnanimous and of comprehensive judgment, and discerning the dominion of Jehovah, so that you are not puffed up with your own knowledge of the ancient prophets and revelators of God the Father, saying, his words were revealed of old. The ancient old revelations were final. Jehovah is the same today, yesterday, and forever. His voice and his hands are with you. He does not change as the wind blows. Open your understanding to the living presence, the I am, in remembrance of the ancient days when the prophets of old were denied also. For the same things come in every cycle and they travel the world, and the same doctrines are revealed, embracing the same exalted commandments, proclaiming the actual presence of the Creator to all men. But of those who do love him, but of those who do not love him with all their hearts and souls, and their neighbors, as their neighbors cry out, we will not have this. Let us crucify him. Let me read that again. It says, but those who do not love him with all their hearts and souls, and their neighbors as themselves cry out, we will not have this. Let us crucify him. Now behold, Jehovah's season is manifest among all nations of peoples. Do they, meaning the religious world's people, not cry out against the skepticism of man, and they are of their doctrines not trembling on their foundations? Okay, the footnote for 1244. So let's look at 1244 so we can, which is right here. It says, do they, religious of the world people, do not cry out? Do they not cry out against the skepticism of man? And then the footnote says, it is well known that at that time, the religions of the world's people preferred blind faith and unquestioned obedience to their dogma, rather than opening up their teachings up to questions. Accordingly, those whose inclination is to question authority may be more to the ways of Jehovah than he who would like docilely accept without question or reasonableness approve the dictates of a religion. Also note that the same as is just said about religion may be said of oppressive governments or any oppressive organization. So there's the what's the good word for the character of the Father? Telling you to think, learn to use your head, think, learn to think, and to attain to the voice of the Creator. Now behold, Jehovah's season is manifest among all nations and peoples. Do they, meaning the world's religious people, do they not cry out against the skepticism of man, and in their doctrines not trembling on their foundation? And are their doctrines not trembling on their foundations? The enthusiasm they put forth is only for a day. With the death of the preacher, his church becomes like the house of a stranger, following a man. For they do not worship the Father, but bow down to the oratory of man. Ain't that the truth, man? For which reason, in this day, I say to you, the present time is greater than of old, for as the present cycle embraces the whole earth, becoming as one people around it, so to that end, the light of Jehovah is being manifest among all nations and peoples. And the skepticism and breaking to pieces in one region of the earth is only a type of the same manifestations in others. Do not think that when the circumscribing of the earth, in other words, when the cosmic era began, that Jehovah is not sufficient for a universal doctrine adapted to all the inhabitants of the earth. For he plies, which means to wield or apply or employ, his angel hosts according to the hope he has on hand, raising up one man to one work and another man to another work, appropriating all people to building his kingdom. And he sends his angels to man to give him signs and omens, and says, I feel it coming. A new advent beginning is at hand. He gives him a feeling, something in the air. I think that's called asphoma. He says he sends his angels to give him signs and omens, and man says, I feel it coming. A new advent, meaning beginning, is at hand. He says, man feels it coming. We should feel it coming in this day and age of a change in our reality. We should feel it coming too. Right now, we should feel it. Pluto going into Aquarius. A new advent beginning is at hand, of which matters the earth is stored with history. As when in Egypt and as when in Egypt in the great kingdom of the pharaohs had fortified themselves with learning and with monuments designed by man to be everlasting. And both angels of darkness and angels of light descended upon that land, and the people were overwhelmed with miracles and necromancy. In other words, people were descended upon them, and the people were overwhelmed with miracles and necromancy. The footnote says they were predictions from spirits of the dead, black magic, sorcery. Okay, so it seems like the Creator is talking about our day. He's saying that as when in Egypt, in the great kingdom of the pharaohs had fortified themselves with learning and with monuments designed by man to be everlasting, and both angels of darkness and angels of light were descended upon that land, and the people were overwhelmed with miracles and necromancy. It says, and the Father called to the multitude out of Egypt, and as many as had faith in him rose up, meaning Moses and the faithless, and they departed away from that land. Then came darkness upon Egypt, and she went down to destruction. Her temples and places of great learning fell down and became known no more. Now this I declare to you, that the same kinds of necromancy and angel manifestations appear in the beginning of every Danha cycle, meaning every 3,000 years or so, 3,000 years or so. For the Father allows even angels of darkness to appear before men to confound them in their unbelief and to make them fearful in their unrighteous behavior. How do you like that? Creator says he allows it. Angel visitation, angels darkness to appear before men to confound them in their unbelief. So you may get brethren talking about angel visitation, vision, some event and experience was an angel. They told him this or that. Creator say he does it to confound them, to confound men, because you don't believe in the Creator. Creator does things to confound you. And this also happens soon after the advent of a cycle, that the angels of the second ethereal come calling sinners to repentance and proclaiming the difference between the higher and lower. That's going on right now. And those mortals who have faith in Jehovah, practicing righteousness, are led forth into a new place and holier condition. But those who do not heed the voice of the angels of God go down in darkness. How do you like that? See? Who have faith in Jehovah and they practice in righteousness. They led forth into a new place and a holier condition. But those who do not heed the opposite of the angels of God go down in darkness. Isn't that something, man? You know, a separation. Because people, they play with the Creator. They run to religion to do all the work for them. But you don't got no education. And we read earlier, the Creator, he said that's the only way to grow the spirit. You need education. We need to be able to tell the difference between righteous and unrighteous angels. Will we know the difference? That's why we're giving the example. And I forget those books where it talks about the account of the angels coming from the corners. You know, they say things like, man, hey, you were a great guy back in the past. Well, check it out, man. I'm Caesar, and you was under me at that time, you know, and deceive you, you know. We need to attain to the Creator's voice. You know, read, study, you get used to the way of the Creator so that when this deception come on us, we can defend against it. We can be protected from it. We can tell when it seems like that's what the Creator is saying here. We need education so we can learn, man. We get approached. Sound like that's what he's saying. Well, brethren, that will be the conclusion of the reading of the word. OURANOTHEN, faith, struggle, and divine presence. What I seem to hear is that we can be subject to deception. Deception that we can be subject to if we do not, if we, you know, we the Creator seems he's saying you have to be active in learning and elevating, practicing, that we can't rest against thinking that we won't be able to fall, that we won't be affected by deception, that sort of thing. It's what it seems like he's saying. Warning us about, I think really, this is like warning us about I think that we're in that time where there is angel manifestations and lower angels, higher angels, and the Creator is telling you how to distinguish between the two. I think that we're coming into a time where, like with the president and the deception, that to deceive the world about the beast kingdom, to the deception of war, the deception of government, to lead the people to believe that the government is their government. I think that the Creator is he pronounces a judgment against the present government, because, and he sets up, when the government starts getting away too far, the Creator says he sets up like guardrails, meaning he allows assassinations and rebellions and anarchy, in a sense, to get the government to get in line, which I think that's really incredible, because like the scripture said, man, you know, only rogues will inherit your great offices. Only rogues. That's something to think about. So anyway, brethren, shoot, let me put the link in the room. I should have put the link in the room earlier. I don't know if anyone wants to come in and have a conversation or say anything. And if not, then you know, I can hang out for another few seconds. And then if not, no one wants to come on or say anything, that I can close the video. But again, I think I should go ahead and take this opportunity and say that next Tuesday, Pluto will be going back into Aquarius. I think people are looking forward to it. I think it represents, you know, every time that Pluto shows his face like this, you know, it means one of the things that it represents is revolution. Pluto going into Aquarius has a history of revolution, brethren. So I think that you know, we shouldn't be surprised as we see the events that they start pointing to that. I think it's a time where we can I you know, when we tend to see things like this, then we can look at spiritual things differently. You know, we should, it's hopefully it'll make it'll make us appreciate to take the creator, to take the, if you don't take him seriously, that when you see that he's allowing events to come on the earth, that you'll realize the opportunity that you have, that you are creating yourself for the spiritual, which is eternal. It's a terrible shame that there's no real appreciation for the for that truth, the knowledge. And we always have to learn when it's too late. So okay, nobody going once, twice, no one wants to come on, say anything. All right, good enough. Then with your permission, I can go ahead and close the video. After I give thanks to the creator for this opportunity, for being able to try to learn to attain to his voice, the inner voice, so that we can guard against deception, so that we can guard against our own deceiving ourselves, so that we can practice to endure, learn what we are trying to endure, learn what we are trying to avoid, to help us to learn the seriousness of our new birth, approaching new birth. Creator, thank you for anyone who sees this video. Thank you for this opportunity to try to say something to my brethren that might encourage them to continue on the road to climbing the mountain, to elevating in our spirit, to eventually being to attain etheria and nirvana. Creator, thank you for the knowledge of those places and how that we may eventually wind up there. Thank you, Creator, for your plan to have your sons and daughters rule to the betterment of those that we rule over, to serve, to be servants. Creator, thank you for this video, this channel, and pray that you have been glorified and you'll continue to glorify yourself in your word and your sons and daughters. Oh, brethren, that's the best I could do for today. Thank you for joining me. And Friday, a video, creator willing. And then the weekend, of course, no videos. And then pick up the same thing Monday. Lord willing, Creator willing. So again, thank you for joining me. Until I see you again on the video, may the Creator bless you. Peace, love, wisdom, knowledge. Until I see you again on video, peace be unto you. Shalom.